Well, there it is. My first time having this installed. Of course, you're running a new version. There it is. Yeah, that's fine. I just logged back in. Guys, this is my first time logging back into WoW since I uninstalled before I even canceled my subscription. So, before I even canceled my subscription last time, I uninstalled, and I am cautiously optimistic about where World of Warcraft is headed. I have been optimistic for every single... There's so much broken stuff. I have been optimistic about where every expansion has been going that has ever released for World of Warcraft, with the exception of Warlords of Draenor, because that's the one I missed. So that's not a dig on Warlords of Draenor on its own. It's just literally I quit in Pandaria and didn't come back to Legion and happened to have missed Warlords of Draenor. So I want to talk a little bit about why I'm coming back, because I have a feeling that on stream tomorrow morning, that question's going to come up a fair bit, and I'd rather have a bot command that leads you here. Hello, and welcome to a channel that I created around the same time that I made Gaming Kinda, and I threw 2 posts on Gaming Kinda, and 2 posts here, and 2 posts on like a couple other channels that never got anywhere, and then I just kind of stopped, and I was like, I don't know if I want to make World of Warcraft content. I am interested in kind of documenting my journey here. One of the things that has made me optimistic is that it looks like they're at least trying to head towards change. Along the path, I think a lot of change at Blizzard is going to miss the mark. I think there's going to be other missteps. I think there's going to be a lot of feeling like they not only put their foot in their mouth, but I've now for some reason have to put their foot in my mouth, for lack of a better metaphor. And it's not going to be good. But this is the game that got it all started for me. So, like, a huge bit of this is just bias and my own just memories of... I started in World of Warcraft back in vanilla. I started that Christmas. This was what I wanted for Christmas, and I had to pool my allowance with my brothers because I didn't have a job. And so this was that we paid for it with allowance on the one computer in the house. And so my brother actually has that account. This was an account I created, I guess, the following year, like right before, I don't know, I felt like I was prepping for college and I got a laptop. And so I had a crappy little Dell laptop that was probably, I don't think it was that crappy when I got it, but in hindsight, like it aged poorly. There's so many fond memories with this game. Now, the optimism around this game, around World of Warcraft in particular, has always been going into an expansion. The pre-patch event, the hype, going into an expansion, BlizzCon announcements, I'm always super on board. The day of, they've gotten, in my opinion, nothing but better and better. There was a time when the servers were so bad that they would have to gift large amounts of playtime just because they're like, oh yeah, sorry, Tuesday maintenance, we're gonna have to take it off all day. And now, like, largely the expansion, you log in and you play the game. Coming off of like Endwalker, where you see like, hey, what happens when more people hit the server than will be there in 8 months? It turns out Final Fantasy wasn't in a position to solve that problem immediately. But World of Warcraft is like, no, we know launch day is more than will be here in a year, and we're good at it. Shadowlands, I had a smooth experience personally. BFA, I had a smooth experience. As far back as I can remember, I had a smooth experience back in Kata, and I enjoyed it. Now, what happens after that, I don't know. I don't know. Every expansion is a bit of a gamble. Does it turn into something you really enjoy? Does it not? How many patches are we going to get? How far apart are they going to be? How obligated are you going to feel to do things? How much fun will there be to explore? Will there be anything that rivals the fondest memories? And will you recognize the fond memories when you have them? Or will it be something that you look back and say, oh God, that was good? You know, at the time I probably complained about that, but I still think about that, and it's still a defining game moment for me. So I want to come back through at least Dragonflight launch. Now, Dragonflight, as of recording this, does not have a launch date. They have not committed anything. So I want to come back and experience pre-patch, experience Dragonflight launch, and see what it's like. And I want to share that journey. And so, since I'm going to be in-game anyway, as I guess a Final Fantasy player now, if you can only be one thing on the internet, I wanted to document it somewhere that people who aren't interested don't have to be it. So this channel, I wasn't using it, so we're just going to leave it for World of Warcraft stuff. It's not monetized or anything. So as a full-time content creator, you know, this is just like a way, like imagine if you had an optional task you could do at work and they said, hey, what if we just didn't pay you for those hours? So like, I'm not really like, I'm just doing this because I want to. There's no like big inherent benefit to me coming over. But I want to kind of share some of that. And when I look at Final Fantasy, Shadowbringers is when I got into the lore. And now I'm going back and I'm playing the old expansions. I'm most of the way through ARR, and I'm about to go into Heavensward, and I'm having a lot of fun getting to know the lore. So I've been asking a ton of questions as I start to get into Guild Wars lore, as it really opens me up to say, like, well, maybe you would like lore in other games too. And maybe I won't. Maybe Final Fantasy really is a one-off, in which case, why are we mad that people think it wouldn't be good? If the rest of the world conditions them that MMO lore is bad, like, why are you surprised that people come in and just assume Final Fantasies would be too? Like, they're wrong, but, like, you know, reasonable assumption. And so I wanted to try World of Warcraft lore. And when I talk about World of Warcraft lore, one of the things that people regularly come in and tell me is that my views aren't valid. I don't like reading books, so I you know, they're like, oh, have you ever read any of the World of Warcraft books? No, don't even own them. Never seen one. Did you play through the Warcraft 3 campaign for the lore? No, I don't. Do you read all your quest text? What about all the little books and stuff? No. Then anything you say or feel about all the cutscenes, about the way you build up to a raid boss, about everything you hear by just being in a community like this where there are passionate lore nerds, is not valid. And universally, people are just supposed to say, wow, lore equals bad. And so if you say, you know, I really enjoyed playing through the Burning Crusade and building up across those raids, and I really enjoyed the Wrath of the Lich King, as we had this, like, enemy that, like, was in the dungeons and, like, built its way up over the whole expansion. I liked that. I liked getting to know the reputations and the little flavor text that they do, and the amount of voiceover in this game that when you're running through a dungeon, people are shouting things at you, and there's just this feeling of being in the world of Warcraft that I've always enjoyed. And they're like, yeah, but, like, what about this thing they retconned? Well, the beauty of not knowing is, like, ignorance is truly bliss. The beauty is that, like, I don't know what was retconned because I didn't know that level of detail. So if I was just having fun in the world narratively, experiencing it, I don't know how else to describe that other than lore, but, like, my views have been deemed not valid. So since I've got time back in the game, one of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to get back in and experience lore. I want to get a feel for lore. I haven't installed any add-ons yet. It looks like add-ons are kind of just hanging out on my machine from when I uninstalled in anger. I clearly didn't clear all the add-ons off. So I have a list of add-ons I want to add. Immersion is at the top of that list because it's supposed to help me, and I want to get to know the lore of this game. And so a couple weeks ago when I started wondering if I was going to do this, I've been listening to a book on tape, and it is Illidan by William King. And I'm sure there is probably an optimal place to start getting to know the lore. I've watched Noble and Pyro and Bellular videos over the years, but I thought, I don't want a summary from somebody else, because then all I can do at best is parrot their opinions. They got to their summary by cutting out all the things they deemed not important. And distilling it down to something that you can actually consume. Something that's, you know, 5, 10, 20, 40 minutes, not 10, 30, 200 hours. And so they got there by doing that for you. And they do it through books and spending time in the world and spending time on forums and wiki sites that have data mined all this stuff out of the game in case they missed it, and experiencing it and documenting quests that are no longer there. One of the things that's an issue here is, like, if I go back to experience old classic zones, I'm experiencing them post-Kata. And so I have, like, an objectively worse Scarlet Monastery. I don't know if it's worse lore-wise, but I know that I don't like the dungeon as much. That's what actually drew me to Classic, was like, oh, maybe I'd like getting Scarlet Monastery and all that. So I'd like to kind of get to know the lore. I'd like to, I like everything I'm hearing about Dragonflight. At first, I was like, oh, so they're just putting Guild Wars mounts in. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized, WoW doesn't really invent the wheel. They didn't invent MMOs. They didn't invent tab targeters. They didn't invent any of this. None of it. None of it. But what they do is they take a concept and they make it their own, and they make it ideally better. It doesn't always land, but that's their goal. I don't think they're like, how could we make that worse? And so as they set out to aim to make it better, and they try to put their own spin on it. And so when they show the clip and it's frame for frame freaking Guild Wars, that's a little frustrating. But they're talking about, in all these interviews and all these community posts, like, there's going to be all these other abilities that are going to unlock. And it's like, okay, what if that's their starting point? If the game is really that bad a shape, I don't think anything should be off limits. Maybe Tauren can be rogues. Maybe Alliance and Horde can play together. The nostalgic part of me, when I talk to my brothers who had played this game for years with, they're like, oh, that's the worst. I can't believe they would let Alliance and Horde play together. And then the more I thought about it, are they defending some version of the game from the past so that they don't hurt the memory of people who have already quit? What's the value in that? Are they trying to protect this game from changing into something that I don't want it to be when I'm not subscribed? Why does my opinion even matter? When people are like, oh, I hate this system, it's designed like this, because otherwise the Mythic Raiders will take advantage of it. Otherwise the World First Race won't be any fun. Are we designing the game for the 500 people at the top of it? So I think at a certain point the game just needs to be fun. And it just needs to be content that's fun to consume for the people that want to play it. And that's really it. And I think MMOs can be seasonal. And so if I play through the launch of Dragonflight and then it takes them 680 days to get to 10.1, but somewhere in there I fall off again, am I gonna regret coming back? The answer is no. The answer is no. I'm gonna play until it's not fun, and then I'm gonna not play. I bought the 6-month sub because I don't think we are 6 months out. What are the odds my keybinds are still there? Oh, mount key, right where I left it. And so I think for me, I'm not gonna regret that. So then am I gonna regret giving them my money? Because the reason I left before was because I didn't feel ethically okay giving them my money. And I know people who have taken jobs at Blizzard since then. I know people who are still there, and I know people that have left, and having visited with them and kind of gotten their thoughts and thinking, okay, I see why they feel the way they do. It informs the way I feel, but it doesn't drive the way I feel. I don't have to just say, yes, I like that person the best, and I have to feel like they feel. But I can look at their opinions and say, okay, that's from a different viewpoint. And I think overall, I'm okay giving them 6 months of sub. I'm okay giving them the pre-order cost of Dragonflight. I'm not one that really buys any cosmetics off the store or anything like that. And by comparison, I just ordered my first Encyclopedia Eorzea from Final Fantasy. So I'm giving them above and beyond subscription and game cost. And, Guild Wars. I bought the deluxe edition of the expansion so that I could get some gems and I could support a game that really doesn't do a very good job asking for your money. And so monetarily, I'm supporting other games more than this. And I want to have an informed opinion. As I start to get deeper into parts of Final Fantasy I'm not familiar with, my natural comparison is to compare the parts of Final Fantasy to the parts of WoW that I remember. And that makes sense when I'm playing the same aspects of the game. But when I start to get into end-game raiding in Final Fantasy, and I have not in-game raided in WoW in a long time, and I haven't Mythic Plus and all that. I haven't done all these high keys as it sits, like, and they're changing all that system. I am getting less informed by the day, and I'm only as informed as I ever was, which is, like, I wasn't the world's best player. And as I start to get into Final Fantasy lore, and people come in, they're like, so much better than WoW lore, right? I don't feel good with people trashing that. It doesn't feel good. Like, I'm not like, yeah, you're right. Final Fantasy is better because WoW sucks. Like, it's not a zero-sum game. We don't have to have WoW be bad for Final Fantasy to be good. The whole genre can improve, and it's better for everybody. And so I want to be educated in what WoW is. I want to be aware of it, and I want to play launch. So there's an aspect of it that's fun for me, and there's an aspect of it that's informative for me, and getting into the lore side of it and seeing, maybe I don't like it. Maybe everybody is right. And getting to know that for myself is kind of why I'm doing this. I don't know if that's a good reason, but here's a video on a non-monetized channel. So if you got an ad, maybe one day down the road, if I stick with this game, this channel hits monetization. But if you got an ad, thank you for supporting YouTube, I guess. Google's doing okay. And so I just wanted to put this over here so that when people ask, I didn't have to go through this, because my view and my opinion does not need to drive yours. If you want to use it to inform yours or give scale or scope, that's great. Go get many. But this is why I am returning for Dragonflight. It's been a tough issue to this point. If I do it, do I cover it? You know, is it different if I'm doing it publicly and that's like somehow sending a message that like that says this game is something other people should be playing too? And then if I do it privately, like a lot of times it comes up about WoW, and so up until now I've been like, I don't even have that game installed, I don't play it, that's where I'm coming from. So like then there's this weird like, well, how do I not do it publicly, but then I'm like hiding that? And so it's just easier to say, here's where I'm at. Here's my plan. I'm going to play it through Dragonflight launch, and then we're going to see where we're at. And, you know, let that be what it is. If you never want to support this game again, I respect that. If you were here the whole time, I respect that too. Everybody has their own journey with these games. They are art. Art, when it collides with the real world, can be hard and complex, and it's just where we're at. I am very hopeful that new leadership, as it continues to change, as we look at things like a Microsoft acquisition, I'm very hopeful that this game is given the resources and the inflection point to become what I know devs there want it to be. Anybody who has worked at Blizzard and has taken the heat from the community this whole time, you know, I've heard that Blizzard's come a long way in their pay scale since all of that stuff, but back in the day, man, I had some friends that worked in QA and all that. If they're not working there because they're passionate about Blizzard games, to be disrespected in the way the work environment was working, to be disrespected by their fan base, and to be paid enough for the privilege of living with like 7 roommates in Irvine, if it's not passion, like I don't really know why they're doing it. And so I know they want this to be a good game. And I'm here for the ride. We'll see how it goes. I want to start covering these interviews a little more. I want to start talking about the news. I want to start watching more WoW streams, getting involved in the community again. Final Fantasy will still be the dominant game in my life. But that's the plan. I'm going to stream this on my Variety Wednesdays over on Twitch. And then every other week I do lore. And half of those lore weeks are going to be getting into the Final Fantasy lore that I missed from back when I was a story skipper. No regrets. Seriously, that's a whole other topic. No regrets. But I am excited to go back. And the other half of those weeks are going to be covering lore in games that are outside of that. And so that is things like, but not limited to, World of Warcraft. And all of that content will go right here. So if you're interested in that journey, feel free to hit subscribe over here. Otherwise, I'm not going to be trying to beg and prod people to get into a game that I know has conflicting feelings about it. I'm excited to focus on just, can a game be fun to play? And can it be nice to return to World of Warcraft? Kinda.